Hello, hello, hello. It is Carmen Chloe of redefiningwidowhood.com and carmenchloeglobal.com. Welcome to those of you who will be catching this on the replay. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the topic, are your steps ordered by the Lord? Are your steps ordered by the Lord? One of the questions on this journey that you may be asking yourself is, and this is especially if you're a believer, you're probably asking yourself, are my steps ordered? Like everything that happened to me with my husband passing away, everything that happened afterwards, like are my steps ordered by the Lord, or are things just kind of randomly happening? And I was just having a conversation. I was having a conversation earlier with God, like I do often. Hello, hello, hello. Say what's up as you guys tune in. That would be so awesome. And let me know where you're tuning in from. But I was having a conversation with the Lord not too long ago, and I was going over like some declarations and some scriptures that I typically read every day. And God took me back to like just my whole journey over the past 2 years. I've been on this journey for 2 years, and I was talking with God specifically about something that I'm believing him for my daughters and I, something that we've not had before. Something that we haven't had in a few years, something that I'm really, really believing him for. And I was just telling him that I wasn't going to forget when he blesses me and my daughters with what I'm petitioning him for, that I'm not going to forget that it was him who gave it to me. And then I just started praising God and talking about how just my whole entire story, me and my children's story, is just unbelievable. It's something out of like a book. In fact, I literally wrote a book on our journey. But I was telling God, I'm not going to forget that it was you who blessed me with this. I'm not going to let anybody else get the glory for what you have given to me, because, you've brought us through so much. And I was literally like naming out loud everything that God has brought me and my daughters through since my husband died. Like he's brought us through eviction. We had an eviction notice on our door the day after my husband died. He's brought us through repossession. He's brought us through just so much in that little bit of time. And then it had me thinking, like, God, everything that we went through, it wasn't by happenstance. It wasn't random. So just to tell you guys a little bit about my story, because I love storytelling. When my husband passed away, we were in a very just not good financial situation. In fact, the only money that I had when he died was the $500 that I found in his wallet when I collected his belongings from the hospital. I'm going to say that again. When my husband died, the only money that I had to my name was the $500 that I found in his wallet at the hospital when I had to collect his belongings. Okay. So that was on a Sunday. On a Monday, we had an eviction notice on our door. This is less than 24 hours of my husband dying. All I have is $500 to my name. I had no clue where we were going to stay at after we finished with the funeral and all that type of stuff. Because of my faith in God and because of me just being in total shock, I couldn't even be worried about where we were going to stay. The logical move was for us to move back to Florida where my family was at. However, I still had to take care of business in Georgia where we were living. God put it on the heart of one of my family members, extended family members who was in Georgia, not too far from us, to welcome me and my daughters into their home. So we stayed with them for, it may have been almost 2 months. While I was staying with them, I was getting comfortable, and I was like, okay, God, I feel like I need to go back to Florida and be with my immediate family, but I don't want to go back to Florida. Like I hadn't visited Florida in 7 years prior to my husband passing away. I was like, I don't want to go back to Florida. So I was thinking about how I was going to just rush and get a job, and I was going to get a new apartment in Georgia, and I was going to start our new life there because that's where I had lived at for the past 14 years. But that was not God's plan. My family members who we were living with at the time, they were not rushing us to move. They were like, I know you don't want to go back to Florida, specifically Miami. You can stay here for as long as you want. But that was not God's plan. Something happened in relation to somebody that was connected to the family member's house, and it became not wise for us to stay there anymore. It became not safe for us to stay there anymore. and I can't get into the details of that. So my daughters and I, this is less than 2 months after my husband has passed away. We've already went through trauma of him dying, us only having $500 to our name, getting evicted, having to live with a family member, and then something happens in connection with the house that we're living at, to where we literally the next day we packed up all of our stuff and we went and we stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks. We stayed there until my brother and my cousin could come and get us from Georgia to help us with some of our stuff and to just help us on the road trip so that I wouldn't be on the road with two young girls by myself. So we left there, stayed in the hotel for 2 weeks. My brother and my cousin were able to come and, rescue us and help us to move to Florida. When we got to Florida, I stayed in my grandmother's home, which is a childhood home that I grew up in. I stayed there. I was very thankful that my children and I were not homeless. I was very thankful that we were safe. However, I was extremely uncomfortable. Okay, we had to go back and live in Miami, and Miami is totally different from when I grew up in Miami. It was very uncomfortable for me. I did not want to be there. That was where I was forced to have, go through my grief and all of that. So after I started grieving, I was living at my grandmother's house, and I was like, y'all got to get me out of Miami. I can't get with Miami. I cannot get with Miami. So while I was going through that phase, my brother would invite me and my daughters to stay at his house, which was in a totally different county. And the more that I would go and visit my brother's house, same state of Florida, but in a different county, maybe about an hour and 20 minutes away from Miami, the more I would stay at his house, the more I would fall in love with the area that my brother lived in. And I was like, God, like, I could see us living up here. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen because I'm still rebuilding finances, but I really want to live in this area. Like, I'll stay in Florida if I'm able to get into this area. So I had to make a decision because it was time. It was almost time for my children to go back to school after summer break. And I was like, okay, are we going to go back to Georgia or are we going to live in Florida? I was trying to force my way back to Georgia. I had an interview and everything. The girls had gotten accepted into a charter school, and that fell through because that was not God's plan. I was trying to force stuff to make it work. So I was able to actually get a job near my brother's house. I don't know if I got the job myself or if it was God who got me the job. So I was able to get a job near my brother's house at a school. My daughters ended up getting accepted into that school, and they, they were going to the school, really great staff. I got the job there. And I was like, okay, God, you're really like opening up the doors for me. Like, you made a way for me to get a job. I'm actually working at the school that my girls go to, which is perfect for me because I was still having separation anxiety and I didn't want to let my children, out of my sight during that time. Some of you guys may be experiencing that too, which is normal. So I got the job. I'm working the job. 6 weeks into the job, now I've stepped out on faith. I've gotten a job near my brother. My girls are going to the school there. 6 weeks into the job, I get fired from the job. And I'm like, okay, God, what just happened? Like, we've already been through so much trauma, eviction, staying with family, having to leave from family's house to be safe, staying in a hotel for 2 weeks, moving to my grandmother's house, figuring out like this ain't gonna work. I finally get a job and we're able to move to an area that is much nicer and much more peaceful. I get this job, and then 6 weeks into the job, I get fired from the job. And I'm like, God, like, did I miss you? Did I move ahead of you? Like what happened? Like, why did I get fired from the job? And this whole time, I'm like, okay, I made this happen. I forced my way into the area that my brother is living in. I forced my way into this area. And I was having worship time with God. I hear the voice of God very loud and clear. And in my worship time, God told me, and this may be a bit heavy for some of you all, but this is what it is. God told me in my worship time with him, he said, you've done everybody else's work. Now it's time for you to do my work. So basically, God allowed for me to get fired from that job so that I wouldn't get too comfortable, because I was going to look into becoming a teacher at the school, because I was a teacher for 6 years in Atlanta before I became a housewife or a stay-at-home mom, whatever you want to call it. So I was going to get back on that track. I was going to make that happen. I had a good rapport with the principal, the assistant principal. I was like, okay, I had it all planned out. I was like, I'm going to get certified in Florida as a teacher because I already have the degrees. I was like, I'm going to teach at the school with the girls. I had it all planned out. But how many of you guys know that when God has a specific calling on your life, a lot of times what you want to do is so far away from what he wants you to do. A lot of times when you want to get back into a place of routine and being comfortable and being safe, God is like, no, that's not what I have for you. Even in the midst of grief, even in the midst of loss. And this is for a lot of you guys who know that God is calling you to a higher purpose than just the average person. So God was like, no, like you've done everybody else's work. Now you're going to do my work. And I knew exactly what he meant by that. I knew that he meant for me to serve in the capacity that I'm serving in now, and even more in terms of working with women who have lost a spouse, who have children to take care of, who know that they have a higher purpose and a deeper calling beyond what they're going through now. And I was kind of running away from that call. I was kind of running away from that call. But I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and do what I know God is telling me to do. So I surrendered to the process, and it has not been perfect. I still have been, me and God have been working it out a bit. But he literally was like, no, like you're gonna do my work now. Like I didn't bring you through all this grief, all this, the eviction, the only having 500. Like I didn't do all of that for you to go back and live a regular, normal life. And that's no disrespect to living a regular, normal life, but I know that that's not what God has for me. Like my whole life is a testament to that. Like my whole life has been prophetic, if you will, even before my husband passed away. So I got settled into what God was saying to me. And I was like, okay, God, I feel what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And to go back to the original question, are your steps ordered by the Lord, or are you just living randomly? Remember, I said I felt like I chose the place that I was living at because I moved maybe 20 minutes away from my brother into an area that I never would have thought of living in. And maybe about 6 months into living where we're living at, maybe about 6 months after God told me, you've done everybody else's work, now it's time to do my work. I'm going through old Facebook posts, and I find a Facebook post from 2015. And in the Facebook post, and it's confirmation to me that God has just been speaking to me for so long, even when I didn't even know God spoke to people for real. Like God has been speaking to me heavy. I put up a Facebook post from 2015, and it said, "Oh my God, guys!" This is when I was living in Atlanta. I said, "Oh my God, guys! Like I had a dream last night that I moved back to Florida, but I didn't move down south, meaning Miami. I refer to Miami as down south. I said I didn't move down south to Miami. I moved to the West Palm Beach area." This is a dream from 2015. And guess where I live at? Guess where I thought I, forced my way into to live at, in the West Palm Beach area. When I saw that post from 2015, I was like, okay, God, like never will I ever deny that my steps are ordered by you. Even when I feel like I'm forcing my way into something, even when I've gotten myself into a situation or I went right and I should have went left, you're still course correcting me. So to go back to the original question, are your steps ordered by the Lord? I know for a fact that my steps are ordered by the Lord. So I just want to encourage those of you who may be watching this video and who may be like, okay, I'm just out here randomly living my life. I don't really know what's going on right now. Trust and believe that if you belong to the Lord, he is ordering your steps. And if you get out of step, you get out of alignment, he's going to course correct you and get you back to where it is that you're supposed to be. Now, yes, I live where I live at now in West Palm Beach. I moved up here because I got a job at the school and I thought that was going to be my life. But God was like, no, we're not doing that. And I'm still out here just living by faith and still like, okay, God, like I know there's something bigger that you have for me in this specific area, or maybe I'm just supposed to be here to do your work in this season. I don't know. But to me, that was confirmation that my steps are ordered by the Lord, even when I didn't even know the Lord for real, even when I was in sin, God was still speaking to me and ordering my steps because he has a very specific calling and purpose on my life. So if you're watching this video, please allow this to encourage you. Please allow this to encourage you, to let you know that God is ordering your steps. If you belong to him, he is ordering your steps. So I just wanted to get on here and release this message. I did not mean to get on here long. Thank you guys so much who are tuning in. I hope this encouraged you. I hope this inspired you. Go out there and be great. If you're running from a call that you know God has on your life, stop running. Surrender. You cannot outrun. You cannot outrun God. That's one thing that I have learned on this journey in this process. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in, Erica, Princess, all of the other Facebook people. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you guys on the next video, y'all. Peace. Be blessed.